Brazil's Amazon rainforest, a home to thousands of indigenous communities, the custodians of an already endangered resource. But now they face a new threat.
One of Brazil's major issues is its indigenous population being really badly hit by coronavirus. So we've come down here to the Amazon to head deep into the jungle to meet some of these communities. Being here, you just really get a sense how far and wide coronavirus has spread. We've been on this motorboat now for 2 hours. We've got another couple of hours left before we reach the first indigenous community, and coronavirus has struck there too. It is creeping through the jungle.
Like the rivers that run through it, the pandemic is spreading across the Amazon and to this small community of around 80 people. We meet Ana Paula on the dock as we arrive. She's waiting for a hospital boat that will soon visit. She thinks she has coronavirus.
I have had symptoms and I'm worried about my kids. My mother has asthma and my son is autistic.
I ask her how she thinks the virus can even get to a place like this.
I'm really surprised, but we've had some visitors who have not had masks. And then we have people who come from other communities and go back and forth. If someone here does get very sick, there's no way of helping them immediately.
Indigenous communities are particularly vulnerable to diseases from major population centres. Manaus, just up the river, is a busy tropical metropolis of around 3 million people, a hub of international trade and tourism. It was the first place in Brazil where coronavirus looked to be out of control. The state of Manaus currently has more than 50,000 infections and upwards of 2,200 deaths. Now, sickness is seeping further afield. Ana Paula invites us to see her home.
Bom dia. 6 people live here. Can we have a look? Is that okay? Thank you so much.
Cozinha e quarto.
So kitchen, 4 people sleep in here.
E
And another room there with another 2 people.
aqui é quarto que eu tô fazendo pra mim
Okay.
e pro meus 3 filhos.
Oh wow, okay. So
Aqui, ajeitando.
she gets to sleep in here, I think, with her kids, and that's kind of a communal room. But I mean, you can see the issue. A family of 7, 2 families of 7, living in 3 rooms. It's quite clear that coronavirus would easily spread in a place like this. And now you feel like you might have symptoms for coronavirus. What have you been feeling?
E o olfato, como eu falei.
I lost taste and smell and I had a fever. Plus my eyes hurt. I went to the small medical station here. They gave me something to gargle, and I also take a lemon and garlic juice.
This is the help Ana Paula's village has been waiting for, a medical boat which visits just once a month. Locals wait in the school to get tested. It's also a chance for other medical needs to be taken care of, like registering new births. These villagers rarely go into Manaus. When they heard how bad it was in the city, they were scared to get help. They ended up trying to fend for themselves. Dr. Ludmila de Sousa leads this team.
Most of the healthcare workers in Manaus got COVID. I lost 5 friends in the first 2 weeks.
Are you worried about these indigenous groups getting coronavirus?
Of course I'm very worried. We lost people in these communities that are like our own. We had a lot of people die. I'm worried because we're going to go now and will only come back in 1 month. They don't have assistance here. We can't forget that there are other diseases here too. Amazonia has the highest rate of tuberculosis in Brazil. This is malaria season, dengue fever.
Behind the mask, her voice starts to crack.
We are really worried. We have been putting pressure on our superiors. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of bureaucracy. We are so sorry that we couldn't get here soon enough. We go home at night, worried that we can't help everybody.
People here feel help has come a little late. Ana Paula sits down for her test. She'll get her results before the boat leaves. Back in Manaus, the scenes that terrify these communities continue to play out. Hundreds are being laid to rest.
This is the main cemetery in Manaus in Amazonia, and you can see the new area they're creating down there. But the difference is these are mass graves.
Neda is visiting her father for the first time since he died. She's travelled 100 miles to get here.
I only got to see his funeral by video. It was so painful. It's something indescribable to look at your father's funeral on a phone. And the worst, it's not just him there. There are another 4 people in the same grave.
When Nida prays, she prays for strangers too. Her father is buried underneath 4 other victims of coronavirus. Hundreds of people have been buried this way.
O melhor pai do mundo, né? Do sorriso maravilhoso dele.
He was the best father in the world, with a wonderful smile. Everyone has a defect, but for me, he has never abandoned me.
This is not like any cemetery I've been to before. It's actually a mass grave. This is how people are buried, side by side, very close to each other, often one on top of the other. And then once the coffins have all been laid inside, they just place these blue planks over the top to make it seem like there are individual plots for a place that people can come to pray. Just gives you a sense of the scale of death here in Manaus.
Just outside the city, another indigenous group is mourning. Miqueia Moreira Kokama is just 33 years old, but he's now the chief to some 5,000 people in a community on the outskirts of Manaus.
My father was sent by Tupa, our god, and he was able to unite all our people. So I'm very proud to follow this legacy.
He's now chief because his father, Kokama, was killed by coronavirus trying to protect his people.
There were some people at the beginning who felt ill, and my father told them all to stay here while he went to get help. But he got infected and he died. The government doesn't do anything for us. They despise us. They treat us like garbage.
He may be the new chief, but emotions are raw.
From what you've told me, it sounds like he was a man who sacrificed himself for his community. He must be very proud.
My father told me, son, to make the government listen to these people, to stop them calling us criminals or invaders, at one point you must sacrifice your life. And I'm okay if it happens to me. So we have to keep our heads up and have pride in who we are.
I told the mayor of Manaus what the chief thinks of the government.
Do you think you've done enough to help the indigenous people in Brazil?
Yes, we are. I'm doing my best. I'm very tired. We try to help the whole time. We have 2 boats that go 150 kilometers. That is the part of the river that belongs to Manaus.
COVID-19 may be a modern pandemic, but it's highlighting age-old inequalities. Like marginalized communities all over the world, Brazil's indigenous people are hoping a spotlight has now been shone on their hardship, and it won't be turned off. Back along the Rio Negro, Ana Paula is getting her results. And it's good news. She's told she doesn't have coronavirus. Dr. De Souza tells us that she must be careful, as it could be a false negative, but the relief is visible. Some of the other villagers have tested positive. The challenge will be to make sure they don't spread it further.
Brazil's coronavirus pandemic has run wild through some of its major cities, and now it's spreading to the provinces. Millions of people in these remote areas are only now getting help, but it's a slow process. The fear is that coronavirus is moving much faster. James Longman, ABC News, in the Amazon.